Hello, and welcome to the Fostering Failure podcast, interviewing creative leaders about their experiences, their processes, and their failures. My name is Russell Anderson, and today I'm talking to Max Webb, an actor, a former colleague, and a friend, about moving from a lack of sense of direction to discovering his creativity and the value of the arts, and into working with others to help them to discover their own creativity.
I think you've got to have that safety in your space where it is okay to fail. It is okay. That doesn't matter. That's fine. We'll take that. We'll move on. You know, it's not a problem, because it can be really difficult. Failure, making a mistake or whatever. We're too terrified of it, and it's not really a thing. It doesn't really matter if you get something wrong once, as long as you learn from it. Who cares?
So, hi Max, thank you very much for joining me today.
Hi Russell, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Hair's looking great.
Thank you very much. I could say the same for you, but I can't see it.
Oh, harsh. For our listeners, I am a bold man.
I am very much not a bold man right now.
No.
So, Max, to kick off, I was hoping you could just introduce yourself, tell us about what you do and how creativity figures in your life.
So yeah, I'm Max. I guess I've been really lucky to work and study in a creative way for all of my adult life. I think I'm very, very privileged to have that. You know, I went off to uni when I was 18, and I did an English and drama degree at Oxford Brookes, which is how you and I know each other, Russell. We met there, and I got really interested in the arts whilst I was in Oxford. I wasn't really somebody who knew what they wanted to do from a young age. I didn't have a particular direction. I found that a bit later in life, a bit of a late bloomer. But when I was at university, so it really clicked about what I wanted and what I enjoyed, because I really found something that I was passionate about in the theatre and in that work. And that was partially through university and partially through going and working down at the Oxford Playhouse, performing with their young company and being around that world. So yeah, that was kind of like the start for me. And then since then I've been off to drama school, and then lived in London and worked sort of commercially as an actor. And then since then I've run away from London and worked for various large regional theatres as a kind of administrator and organiser. But I'm still an actor and a performer, and I try and keep my hand in as much as I possibly can. So I'm a man who wears many different capes, has worked in lots of different ways over the past 10 years. But that's me in a nutshell, I guess.
It was something there that I found quite interesting. We were talking about this just before I hit the record button. The idea of some people being creative and some people not being creative. It seemed like there was a touch of that going on when you kind of didn't consider yourself to be a creative person, kind of before you started exploring it at university. And do you think you kind of held that as a mental state before you started doing things like the Playhouse Young People's Company, this idea that I'm not a creative person or anything like that, or you just didn't think about it?
I don't know. I think it depends on your experiences, doesn't it, when you're growing up? And I was really lucky. I did get some cultural engagements when I was a young person. I did have that. You know, my dad took me to the theatre, and you know, I was always reading books. And I did a drama GCSE and a drama A level, and I did a school play and that sort of thing. I guess I just never really realised at that young age that this was actually something I could do. I never really got that it was something that could actually turn into a career, a lifetime passion or whatever. You know, I never really got that. And I think it's only when I got off to university that I actually started to believe that, you know what, I think I could do this. And actually I really want to do this. So this is the only thing that feels really, really right, you know. So I guess it's just a matter of I didn't have my thing before I was 18. I didn't have my thing, and then I found it, and it was a light bulb moment. Yeah.
So what was it about that made it your thing? And what I mean by that is, For me, it changed loads of times over the years. The first kind of performative thing I did really was when I was Oliver in my school play at 10 years old. And at that point, it was that kind of classic lovey thing that I just loved being up in front of everyone and getting the applause. And it was the buzz, bitten by the acting bug as it was. And by the time just before I was going to university, by the time I was 17, 18, I realised I was much more interested in building things and in making things happen on the stage. And I actually stepped away from performing because I was much more interested in seeing that happen. And then later on, as my career progressed, I realised I was more interested in training and coaching and teaching people and seeing their latent creativity sort of flourish. So what was it? What do you think that kind of really got you at that point when you realised, aha, this is what I want to do? And has it changed at all?
Yeah, well, I think certainly like you, like I said, I did do a school play, and I did do the GCSE drama and that sort of thing. And at that time, yeah, you're right. It's that kind of, wow, I'm on stage. This is amazing. I think what got me when I was in Oxford and I had that light bulb moment was, it sounds really bad actually, but it was probably the first time I'd ever really got complimented on something. Which isn't to say that, I'm not getting the little violin out or anything. It was the first time where I actually started to do things and people would go, actually, you're pretty good at that, like, that's great. Like, do you know what I mean? And I'd never really had that before. Like I said, I was a very, very, very average student at school. I didn't excel in anything particularly. I was fine. I got through, and as I got older, things got better when I was able to study things that I was more interested in. But I wasn't good at anything, to a level where people would be like, wow, you're really good at that. And I'm not saying that that's what happened here. I'm not saying that, but it was marked that people, like, you do you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I think I do. It's that sense that you've done or made something that people are kind of responding positively to in a different way than if you're in a school environment or something where you're doing well on the exam that is to do with kind of remembering things or understanding formula and stuff. The feedback you get to that is very different from if you've kind of made something, kind of taken something out of yourself and put it in front of people.
Yeah. I love making people laugh and love making people smile, and this was a way that I could actually do that. I think I felt a much more confident person when I had gone away to university. I'm sure lots of people feel that. It's a lot of people feel that you become a new version of yourself and that sort of thing. And certainly my confidence was found probably through the theatre and through like young company experience and through working creatively and working in that way. It made a big difference to me. It made a big difference to who I am now.
And does that impact on the work that you do now? Because I know that you're working on a project that is to do with kind of bringing in playwriting and bringing in performance into school environments where it's new, it's not a common thing, or it's not a done thing. And so is that kind of your experience from when you were younger impacting how you're approaching that job?
Yeah, it definitely. I think it definitely makes me more passionate about what I do. It makes me really believe that it's a vital work, and that's what you need to get up in the morning and go and do whatever you do. So yeah, this project that I work on is it's a playwriting project in local schools in Plymouth, which is the area where I sort of live around now. And the areas which I work are areas of sort of high social economic deprivation. There's little engagement with the arts and with culture. And this is, for a lot of those kids that I work with, this will be their first experience of arts and culture. So it's a precious one. It's an important one. And it is about saying, you know what, this could be for you. This is for everyone. Do you know what I mean? This is for you. And saying to young people which we work with, your stories really matter, and we're going to do something beautiful with them. And I think that's really exciting, because what I found through this work is young people have got a lot to say. They've got a lot to say, and they really want to get their voice out there. And I think playwriting and playmaking and devising work with young people in a sort of collaborative and co-creation way is such an exciting way for them to explore their voice and see their ideas come to life and see that actually, wow, like I've contributed towards this. We've made something. We've made a story which people have come and enjoyed, and that's I love it. I love what I do, and I'm really proud to be a part of this project which I'm working on at the minute. Yeah, it's great. So yes, it definitely does influence what I do. So yes.
Great, thanks. And what's really nice about what you were saying just then is that is so much larger and so much more important than just that 10-year-old Russell going up on stage and going, "Everybody, look at me," which I think is flack that a lot of people who want to go into the arts get stuck with.
Yeah.
This assumption and this idea that you just want to show off, you just want to be famous or stand in the limelight or something like that. I'm really interested in moving kind of away from that area and possibly even away from the idea that we're talking about people who might want to go on and continue working in the arts. What do you think kind of the real value of being able to say, I had something to say and I said it and I took part in this project? What do you think the value of that lies outside of going, oh, I can go and make another play, or I can go and perform on stage or something like that?
I think it's important that we all know that, like, you know, particularly it's really important that young people know that their opinion matters, that it counts, and that they can make a difference in things. And I think that creative education is part of creating a rounded person, isn't it? Like, you know, to be a rounded individual, you need lots of different sides to your personality. And I think that's so important to, with your kind of your questioning brain. You know, you question things and you wonder about things, and you know, it's really important actually. Well, I think that young people get to know that in the arts there's lots of different careers as well. That it's not just you don't have to just stand on stage. You know, there's the stuff which everybody knows about. You know, actors, musicians, dancers. Okay, but these people that you know that they're amazing, and we you know we worship a lot of these performers, and rightly so. But they're the tip of the iceberg, because you know there's your producers, your technicians. There's all sorts of people who work in the arts. And I think it's really important that young people know there's loads of jobs in the arts, and you know, and that's not. And I think that's what I didn't realise until a little bit later in my life, is that there's loads of jobs in the arts, and it doesn't you don't have to just be doing the tip of the iceberg stuff. As wonderful as that stuff is, it's not the only way that you can earn your crust.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. There's something you said right at the start of that which caught my attention. You used the words creative education, and something that I'm currently writing my free Fostering Failure ebook, plug. And one of the sentences that I wrote in that this afternoon was that creativity actually isn't taught. There's no creative class in school or in university or anywhere else, and there are certainly arts classes, and I think there's an assumption there that these classes kind of give you a creative education. But I think, and I'm trying to work out where I'm going with this sentence, but I think it's really interesting that actually creativity is not something.
Creativity is not a gene.
Yeah, this is exactly it. You know, it's a skill. It's a skill that weirdly isn't taught.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I find it.
It's permission to play, isn't it?
Yeah.
Permission to play, permission to fail, permission to explore different ideas. You know, it's something that maybe isn't generally taught in the education system, which is massively overrun and trying to do so much within it. You know, it's really difficult for teachers and really difficult for schools. I can totally see that, but there is room in the curriculum, I think, for permission to play, permission to fail, permission to explore, because because without that, how are you going to find your innovators and also in a world with increasing use of technology, which again you can't fight that. That's the future. I think it's vitally important we don't lose the ability to communicate with each other, and I think the arts and drama in particular can really help with that. You sometimes do need to stand up in a room full of people and talk to them, and I think that's something that this really helps with. Yeah. It is a skill, I think, to retain that level of play, and it's something that if you want to work professionally as an actor, you certainly need to keep with you, because directors will want it. No professional director has got time really for you to be so self-aware that you can't be ridiculous, because like you said, you've got to get on and do the real work. So that's certainly something that anybody who wants to perform has to kind of go through a little bit, but that's really liberating. And I think you hold yourself differently in life after that, because you've been brave to succeed in the creative world. And you have to be brave, you have to be unafraid.
There's a crucial moment where for the first time you have to decide if you're going to keep going.
Yeah.
Because it has gone so wrong. So for me, there was the second play that I did with Reconception Theatre was atrocious. It was really, really bad. We knew it was really, really bad. It got a slew of 1-star reviews, entirely deserved. And I remember literally being curled up on my bedroom floor, crying my eyes out.
Oh, Russell.
Because it hit me so badly, because I felt like I had completely failed. And there was this moment where I had to decide. And weirdly, actually, I never really decided. If this doesn't sound too pretentious, there was never a decision. And my girlfriend at the time sort of said to me, if it hurts you this badly, why don't you just quit? And I just shouted, because I can't. And then I did the classic thing of working out all of the things that I'd done wrong and doing the opposite for the next play, which is the one that you were in. But there was this critical moment. There was that point of going, do I just accept that I can't do this?
Yeah.
Give up at this point. And I think that's something that everybody who makes a career out of creative things, you encounter these all the time, but the first one, the really big first one, I think is a critical point. Do you remember yours, or am I talking out of my bottom?
No, I mean, no, you're not. I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, but I think everybody's terrified of being called out for being a fraud, aren't they?
Mm, yeah.
Being a creative person is a very hard thing to quantify sometimes. It's a very, we're all, everybody's terrified. I think that's totally understandable. I think, there have been moments where I've had a wobble, and there are little moments and there are big moments, right, as you go through life. And I think I had a particular wobble when I was just about to graduate from drama school, and I'd had a brilliant time there. I'd learned a lot, and it was an incredible experience for me. It was you knew how much that meant to me when I got to go there, because we were friends before I got into drama school, and that was, it meant everything to me to go there. It was so exciting, and I had a brilliant year. It was really tough. It was really grueling. I did a master's program at a drama school. It was really tough. It was really grueling. It got towards the end, and it was the final show, and it was. It felt like a lot of pressure. Like I could really remember the pressure building, and also, I'm a country lad, aren't I? I'm from Cornwall, which is where I live now. I'm a country lad, and I was struggling a bit living in London as well. So there was an added pressure of living in London, and we were building up to this final show where there felt like there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot riding on this. It was, oh, there might be agents there. This is your chance to kind of make something of it. And that pressure was building and building and building and that sort of thing. And just before the show went up, like before we'll be having a tech run, and I had a bit of a meltdown. And I just lost it and ran off, basically. This is one of the moments which really sticks in my mind, because this was supposed to be sort of like the moment of glory, and it was the exact opposite of that. I ran off, found myself in a right sorry state about an hour and a half later, soaking wet, kind of, and I was just like, oh my God, what have I done? Like, and I'd stormed off. I was really upset. I can see now I was basically having a small mental breakdown. But I got myself back in there, but I had to apologize because, I'd let other people down. I'd made it about myself, about my own sort of self-importance. It was all about me. I was struggling and it was terrible and it was so difficult and blah, 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 blah. And I had to really have a good look in the mirror and check my own ego and see that, learn some real humility through that. I think that and really apologize. And I was, thankfully, I got through that moment. I got through it. I apologized to people, performed, graduated, moved on with my life. But that really sticks with me because I really messed up. And fortunately it didn't turn my world totally upside down, but it really has stayed with me. It did. That's a moment which I really remember very strongly as kind of being like, oh no, you have messed up here big time. And I think that's probably been a base from which I've built myself back up again since. Really, that was six years ago, and I was really low then, really low. But that was also one of the biggest life lessons I've ever learned as well. That's not just a creative lesson or a theatre lesson or anything like that. That's about who you want to be as a person, who you want to be moving forward. Don't take yourself so seriously. I've really learned a lot from, certainly from my creative education. That definitely has shaped me as a person. I think you learn lessons as you go through life, and you learn things as you go through different things. It's really exciting. You love being a teacher, don't you? You love doing the lecturing, you love working with students. What did you feel when you first got that opportunity then, when you first were able to be a sort of like a leader and be leading a group and be sharing your knowledge? What did that make you feel?
At first, it made me feel like an imposter, like you mentioned. Like I couldn't possibly know enough to do this, and I'm just bluffing my way along. And then as I gradually got comfortable with that, and I lost this sense of I'm going to be found out and turfed out at any moment, it stopped being about me. It stopped being about me and my fears, and it started being about the people who were in the room.
Which is such a liberating feeling, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Such a liberating feeling. Yeah. That's totally get that.
Yeah.
Totally get it.
And then it becomes the most thrilling thing in the world, because once it's no longer about you, then it's so exciting to see what other people are doing. And what's really interesting is that they will judge themselves incredibly harshly, and they will be convinced that everything they're doing is useless and appalling, and they're probably feeling like imposters. And to be able to guide them through this process, where you can see that 12 weeks or 24 weeks later, they are demonstrating how much they've learned, even though they haven't yet realized how much they've learned. It's really thrilling to watch. It's like, it's like watching something bloom. It's like watching something grow. It's just so lovely to see, and to feel like, I know how much my creative education has given me as a person. And also beyond the education, then actually kind of the knowledge that it gave me that I've then applied into the rest of my life has been so valuable. And to be able to help others to experience the same thing and to learn the same thing. It's just so nice. It feels really worthwhile. It feels like a really, really worthwhile way to spend your time and to live your life.
I totally agree with you, man. But I am slightly more immature than you, so I like to work not with groups of adults, particularly. I mean, I love working with adults as and when, but I love working with young people because they are so funny. They just crack me up so much. Like when I think I particularly love working with the primary school age group. Sort of the older kids at primary school would probably be my favourite age group to work with, even though I love working with all people really. Like you said, it's such a privilege, such a joy. But the young ones, that when they've got no sense of abandon yet, they have not built up those layers of worrying about people judging them, and they are perfectly happy to be fish for an hour, and they're not at all concerned about why a banana would talk to a lemur and have a conversation in that way, and they think that it's perfectly reasonable that everybody can now fly. I love that. I think it's really ungarnered imagination. That's what I really love as well. Is that imagination? I think it's that kind of children's stories and fantasy, and kind of when you I find that really special when a young person takes themselves outside of the mundane, outside of the everyday, and can put themselves in that kind of different imagined world. That's really exciting for me.
And it's children that are the proof of this of the fallacy of I'm not a creative person.
Yeah,
because they all are.
yeah.
They absolutely all are. It's inherent.
You must talk yourself out of it at some point, mustn't you? If all young people are, then we must at some point as adults go, oh no, not for me. You've got to have that conversation with yourself at some point.
Well, I think we demonize the childish.
Yeah.
And perhaps it's more helpful to think about the childlike. But there are some childish qualities that are really, really valuable. Like you say, this ability to not kind of have an ego-based perspective of anything, to not judge what's put in front of them as, oh well, that's not realistic or anything like that. The willingness to just try stuff. I mean, talking about kind of learning through failure. God, if children had that problem, none of us would walk.
No, exactly. You have to fail so much just to get to the next stage of life.
And then at some point, suddenly our sense of self massively takes over. Our sense of exposure and embarrassment massively takes over. And I think we are told to stop being childish, to stop being silly.
So Russell, I've got a new mantra which I try and live by now, and I really do try and stick by this. Okay, so I take my work incredibly seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all, and that's what I really try and do, because I felt like, when I was at the earlier stages of my life, I didn't take my work seriously enough. Perhaps I was underprepared or lazy, and thought that was okay, a bit arrogant, thought I could coast by on a certain amount of natural talent, whatever that means. Do you know what I mean? That was and then maybe as I've got a bit older, then the problem is I've started to take myself way too seriously, where I'm really worried about what other people think of me and how I'm perceived. So yeah, new mantra, but it's a mantra I'll be trying to live by for a few years now, and that sort of thing, but really do try. Take my work incredibly seriously, work very hard, diligent, hardworking, go for it. Do you know what I mean? Really, really push for that. But at the same time, be the first person to take the piss out of yourself. It's not worth taking it all so seriously.
So I'm going to ask you two more questions, and we've kind of covered the first one, but just in case anything else pops to mind, and feel free to say, actually, I think I've said it all. What do you think is the hardest thing about working creatively?
Like I said, I've been really lucky in my work. I'm really, really lucky to do a lot of the things I've done. But as I said to you, I'm a man that wears many capes, and I'm a man that wears many capes for a reason, and that is that you have to do a few different things if you want to work in the arts and the culture sectors to survive. You have to have a few different hats that you can put on at a different time. That's a wonderful thing, but it can be a little bit of a precarious situation at times. Yeah, so that's certainly one thing. What else is difficult about working? I think it's like we said, it's very simple once you know how, and all of the barriers that you have to overcome are also very simple but very difficult at the same time. Learning to let go of your inhibitions it sounds very easy. It's very difficult. All of the technical stuff's very difficult to learn. You have to go through a process of learning the technical skills to be an actor. That is tricky, but ultimately you have to learn to let go of yourself, but you also need to still dig deep and be brave. And I think actually being brave, I think, is something that gets harder maybe as you get older, because there was certainly a time where I was totally fearless, probably to my own detriment, where I would throw myself into situations and would not think twice about what I was doing. Nowadays, like I said to you, I'm more wary about things. Maybe I do think more about what other people think of me, and I am trying to, as I keep getting older, to continue being brave and continue to put myself out there and do things. So I think that gets tricky, and I think a lot of these things you have to keep. You don't just. It's ongoing work. It's like everything in life. It's ongoing conversations with yourself and ongoing self-improvement as a creative person, and as a person generally, because I don't really think that the two are disconnected. I think your creative self and yourself as a person, they're the same thing. I don't really come from a school of thought, or don't really harness onto that's a different thing. I think they're the same.
And finally, what do you know now that you wish you had known in the past? I'll let you decide when in the past, but at some point, what pearl of wisdom could you have used?
I think I've already said it, haven't I? I think it is take your work very seriously. Don't take yourself seriously at all.
Thank you very much to Max for talking to me today. If you're interested in exploring fostering failure further, check out the links in the description, either to our YouTube channel where you'll find hints, tips and techniques on how to improve your creativity, or go to fosteringfailure.co.uk.